Hi everybody, welcome and thank you for joining me again. Okay, look, a plan has never before backfired so spectacularly and so publicly before. It was so bad that I actually suffered from secondhand embarrassment. The truth is that there was no long-term plan for Meghan to go to Geneva. Now, I don't know whether the 50 light boxes were indeed planned to go and how long in advance it was actually planned to happen. What I do, however, now know is that it does have the same faces on it, plus maybe a few extra boxes, I'm not sure. But all American children, so like I predicted, Meghan did not take the time to even add a few Swiss or European children. So I think the plan happened fairly recently. However, her trip to Switzerland was even more recent, as in last week or the week before recent. I personally would say Catherine in Italy recent. It is so funny. The woman is not exactly sure what day it was, but another woman phoned her office, wanting a ticket for the Duchess of Sussex. Okay? So she looks on her computer and gives her the options. Oh, isn't there a flight leaving this time, arriving that time, because the Duchess only needs an hour or two to get ready and travel to the venue? No, no such flight. One with a shorter layover? No, the flights she cited includes different airlines, and those are the only ones leaving LAX. She suggests eventually that they call the airport in Washington, as they may have, more flights than those from LAX. I mean, that's logical. But the woman on the other side answers with, you could hear she was allegedly, I must say, quite panicked. But she was saying, but it's urgent. It's an urgent trip. And plonks the phone down. So what flight Meghan took, we don't know. Only I think that it was a semi-last minute decision. Anyway, like Catherine, Meghan arrived in her suit, ready for business, ready for the crowd and her adoring fans. Except there were none, no audience. Meghan literally delivered her 10-minute speech to Tedros and the two women who came with him, her own assistant and her own bodyguard, long-suffering David Langdown, who at one point looked at Meghan in such a way that I thought she may need protection from him. If you watch the video of her arriving, you'll see she turns and she says something to him. He does not reply, but his eyes, I mean, if looks could kill, Meghan Markle would have been 6 foot under. I wish I knew why he was still working for them. We all know that he got the worst from the both of them at times. In his book, Harry even told how he slapped Langers, like he called him, one night while he was drunk. Anyway, as she approaches the venue, one could see Meghan's face change. Except for the 4 already mentioned, there were about 5 journalists and a couple of photographers, and I think 1 set of parents. And that was it. Meghan honestly thought she would repeat or do better in Switzerland than Catherine did in Italy. And then this absolute nothing burger, about 10-15 people. There were people in the road behind her taking pictures of each other in front of some mural, it looks like, some painting on a wall, or I don't know what the place was. and a handful eventually noticed the cameras and the women yakking away at the podium, and they stopped out of curiosity. Clearly, some of them did not even know who she was. They watched for 5 minutes, turned around and left. Others, it appeared, did not even realize they were filming and started adjusting their clothes in the background, blah, blah, blah. It was actually hilarious. There was one slightly thick-set woman right behind Meghan, and she was adjusting her clothes and, sort of looking at what was going on, but not bothered at all. Catherine, however, had a crowd of about 3,000 people crammed into the square to greet her. Hundreds of journalists from all over Europe and Britain and God alone knows where. And journalists literally had to climb over each other to get good photographs. I think it was Dan Wooten who pointed out, or somebody, how old Chris Ship literally had to lean over the people in front of him to get a photograph of Catherine. Now, whether she will admit to it or not, of course she won't, this was an utter disaster for Meghan. And I think deep down she knows it, or she will eventually start to realize it. It is going to sink in. And honestly, I fear that particular narcissist collapse. I think his sociopathic nature will be on full display when it happens. A fairly well-known person, well, not celebrity style, but someone you could Google and go, oh, except I'm not going to say her name, so you can go Google her. However, she told someone who told me, and I'm talking about 2-3 years ago, round about Meghan's birthday at the time, that Megsy was in some clinic for a few weeks because of some kind of breakdown. Now, what happened was I was talking or then DMing back and forth with a so-called friend, and I mentioned Meghan's weird behavior in a set of photographs of Meghan, Harry, and another guy coming out of a restaurant where they allegedly had dinner to celebrate her birthday. It appeared as if they were ushering Meghan into one vehicle and they left in another vehicle. Now this woman said, oh, I suppose she was going back to the clinic. And later she said the way Meghan walked was likely because she mixed her meds and alcohol. Anyway, and when I asked what she was referring to, she told me what her friend had said. Anyway, that was pure gossip, although Meghan herself spoke about her so-called breakdown and life decisions she made and her resilience. Her usual word salad. Now, whether that meant she was in the clinic, I don't know. She did not say as much. But I do remember that at the time when she talked about this sort of breakdown and how hard it was on her, blah, 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 I thought, okay, it sounds very overdramatic, but it fits in with what I was told. I have been keeping an eye out for someone else to come out and talk about it, but I haven't seen anything since, so I decided, not worth talking about. However, if she hasn't had a breakdown yet and has not been for some kind of treatment since she married Harry, I am afraid that the day she really explodes will be a dark and ugly day. I mean, just think about it. Her Spotify and Lemonade podcast failed. All her stuff for Netflix failed. except, of course, the Meghan and Harry series. Her drop shipping business is struggling. She goes somewhere to give a speech, and the 20 people attending are those who have to be there for work and not because they want to be there. So, then we must also consider, that it just happened short on the heels of Catherine's very, very successful visit in Italy. Now, I think that made the pain even worse for Meghan. And I do think that regardless of being a narcissist, she does feel a certain amount of pain when she is slighted. However, what did Meghan think would happen? I mean, Meghan can whistle Dixie through her butt cheeks, but there's no way she can ever hold a candle to Catherine. And I'm not even being nasty. It just is what it is. Meghan competing with Catherine is like me competing with Demi Moore or Sharon Stone or Andy McDowell. All we have in common is our age. I can't afford the skin treatments, the doctors, the trainers, the clothing that they can. But does it bother me? No. They are actresses. They did well. They married well. They started young to take care of themselves because it was their job to look good. I was raised differently, in a different country, with a different lifestyle, and I eventually lived a different life. Now, I do admire some of them. I mean, some of them are just gorgeous for being 63. But I'm not jealous or competing with any of them. I mean, if I was even so inclined, how would I do it? It would be silly to even try. And the same with Meghan. She grew up, rough and tumble. Her private schools actually hurt her more than had she gone to a plain old local school, because it gave her the taste for something bigger and better, something she can't and will never reach, because, sorry guys, but the truth is, it is not inbred. Not nice to say, but true. If I was Meghan, I would have been flattered and honoured to have met the Queen. I would have fangirled about Catherine, even though married to the other brother. If Meghan was just a little more humble, she would have gone far. So many people would have associated with a mixed race girl from a middle class family. But instead, she immediately wanted to take over, be better than Catherine, and teach the rest of the royals their jobs. And she has not grown, she has not matured since then. She is hateful, spiteful, competitive, fake, false, and losing all the way to the bank. She will not recover. She cannot recover, because it isn't who she is. She cannot work with money. She is never satisfied with what she has. She does not appreciate what she has or even attempt to take care of what she has. I mean, that photograph of her and Lily in her cupboard, I mean, that tells you everything. It tells you that she does not even take care of that very, very expensive designer outfits in her cupboard. Her cupboard is a mess, okay? It's not neat. Everything is just shoved in. It's actually a picture of who Meghan is. Because to Meghan, Everything is disposable. Here today, gone tomorrow, including people. So Catherine will always win, even without trying. God willing, Catherine will be queen one day, and Meghan? Meghan will still be selling jam, because that is how she is. She may be able to think big, but she'll never be able to execute it. Meghan has no clue. Like I said before, Meghan can't even play herself. Tomorrow we'll talk a little bit about why Meghan is still being given these platforms to talk from. So until then, please take good care of yourselves and stay safe. Bye.